Hello and welcome back to the Coaches Show on SportsNetUSA.net. My name is Ryan Osborn. Fullerton College looking ahead to the 94th edition of the Key to the County game against Santa Ana College, one of the most fierce rivalries in all of community college sports. Fullerton College, well, their offense is going to look a little different this year. So you're going to hear it from a couple of offensive coaches, Coach Kevin Sampson, quarterbacks coach for Fullerton College, and Coach Trevor Waters of the offensive line, as well as the head athletic trainer in Juan Cuevas. We're catching up with the offensive line coach here at Fullerton College, Coach Trevor Waters. Coach Waters, with the first game of the season coming up against Santa Ana, how do you show them that they need to be ready for week one?
Well, I don't have to go back any further than week one last year when we didn't do very well against Ventura. I mean, you got 10 games, that's it, to try to make the playoffs, and every game counts. You can't, every game you have to go out, be prepared, and come off with a victory. And not only that, this is 100 years of Santa Ana versus Fullerton. If you can't get up for that, I question your heart.
What did you see in that scrimmage on Saturday against Pasadena?
Well, our return guys did well. Our blue group did pretty well, I thought. I thought we executed well. We need more guys, though, to step up and get a better grasp of the offense so that they can give us some depth and get some other players on the field.
What's the biggest difference between the pass block and the run block?
Well, pass block, you want to get big and physical and get people moving backwards and put them on the ground, whereas we don't want to call it passive on the pass block, but you're using a more just feet and hands and mirroring. In a lot of ways, I guess would be the easiest way to say it, rather than the brute force you do on the run block.
When you are looking at some incoming freshmen, how do you take them from wet behind the ears to experienced college sophomores after their sophomore season?
Well, I think you got to take the approach that you're teaching even more than you are coaching. I mean, they got to learn, and that's the hardest thing to get done because it's a much different system. So, me and Coach Felton, we take the philosophy that we're teachers, and that kind of helps us get them prepared to play, although it still is difficult.
You talk about a different system. What is the biggest difference when you see these guys coming out of high school to college?
The detail. A lot of these guys had to play both ways in high school. Now they only have to play one way, which means that one way is much more complicated. There's a lot more in depth and a lot more detail-oriented.
Many people talk about footwork as one of the biggest keys for offensive linemen. How do you stress that to your players?
Well, we work it every day. That's the biggest thing. These guys are big, gifted, strong athletes. Our biggest thing really is teaching them the footwork to get in position to use those strengths that they've been given.
Quarterback here at Fullerton College, Trey Tinsley was here last year. How important is it for your offensive line to be able to protect the new guy?
Well, it's always important. If you can keep the quarterback upright and healthy, you have a much better chance of having a successful season. The quarterback has become that important in football.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck this season, and especially against Santa Ana.
Thank you.
I'm here now with the quarterbacks coach for Fullerton College, Coach Kevin Sampson. Coach Sampson, brand new system on offense. How do you teach your quarterbacks to fit into it?
Well, you first got to start with quarterbacks who know what they're doing. So we have to have athletic quarterbacks who have some experience. And then really this is all about practice. It's really about film study. It's about being in meetings. And it's about coming out here and really going through the drills, because practice makes perfect. So it's just drill over and over and over again, especially with a new system.
When you are looking at a brand new quarterback, a freshman coming into college, what are some of the signals that you're looking for in terms of a starter?
Well, you look for maturity, you look for experience, you look for guys that within pressure, when you're a quarterback, you're going to have the ball in your hands every play on the offensive game. So that could be anywhere from 70 to 90 plays that we're looking at. So you really have to be experienced enough to know what you're looking for. And chaos, once the ball is snapped, it's really chaos with 21 other players. So you really have to think about, it's all about, again, what we had just talked about, the practice issue and being comfortable in your own skin. I mean, quarterback is the hardest position to play in any sport. because there's so many variables. Think about what a quarterback has to do. He has to come up to the line, has to make sure he deploys his people right, has to make sure he knows how much time's on the clock, the down and distance, the hash situation. He has to know what the defense is pre-snap and post-snap, and then he has to make all the calls. So that is a lot to do for a quarterback. And so when we have new quarterbacks come in, we have to make sure early on we work on the little drill things that say go from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 and 3 to 4, and then they get comfortable with it.
How do you teach reads to quarterbacks?
Well, it depends on the play. Obviously reads, we have reads in run plays, we have reads in pass plays. And it really comes down to when they come up pre-snap, again, what they're trained to do. What kind of defense are we seeing? What's the snap of the rotation of the defense when you get the snap of the football? So how do you teach it? Here's what I look for. I look for indicators of quarterbacks who have, in that category, who have the ability to have vision. You have to have awareness on a football field of where people are and where they're supposed to be. So the biggest problem is in blitz and pressure situations for quarterbacks, because when they feel that pressure or a guy's coming through a gap, they have to know how to move their body, reset. They have to know how to say, if somebody's left a spot to come get me, there's probably a vacancy in that spot. But you can't wait. It can't be something that we have to think about. It's got to be training. Pop, 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 pop. That's really how they have to be trained.
You talked about chaos, and you also mentioned boxing. Footwork is essential in boxing. How big is it at the quarterbacking position?
Footwork in terms of throwing the football for a quarterback is everything. When I talk about great quarterbacks, and I learned this from the great coaches that I played for, it's really about two things. I don't always look for the guy with the big arm. It's really about footwork, and it's about vision. So if you have those two things, and then you have your brain process things, and you're mature, you can handle that kind of stress or pressure. Those are the foundation areas for a great quarterback. Just like in boxing, when you are able to get your feet right and counterpunch, you're going to be good in boxing. Same thing happens in football. So making throws for quarterbacks, for me, that's what I really am strong on teaching. So when I see quarterbacks making certain types of throws, I'm always watching. People go, what are you looking for? You're just watching a guy drop back 1,000 times a day. I'm looking at their hands under the center. I'm looking whether they've deployed people right. I'm looking for whether they've made their calls or not. But ultimately, once we get a football, I'm looking for their body position and movement through their motions of their drops and whether their body's in position, because our field's almost 60 yards wide. And so a throw on one side of the field versus a throw on the other side means the body has to be very quickly in very different positions. Ball upfield, ball downfield, okay? So ball placement, where we place a football, is critical for the success of a quarterback. And ball placement, as I tell my quarterbacks, they'll always say back to me, I say ball placement's about, and they say mechanics. Where our spine position is, how we moved our feet, where our shoulder position is, and you can't think about that. It's got to be drilled like a piano player, going back and forth 1,000 times. It's got to be drilled into them.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck to you and your quarterbacks on Saturday.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We are speaking with the head athletic trainer for the Fullerton College Hornets, Juan Cuevas. Juan, average temperature this week has been close to 87 degrees. How do you keep these guys hydrated and ready to go?
It's a combination of different things. I talk with these guys before the season starts, and we talk about a variety of different things. One of them is hydration. And I talk about how nutrition is important with hydration as well. So I tell them about that they need to nourish their body with food, not only not necessarily just junk food, but a variety of food, and at the same time to drink throughout the week, and not necessarily the day of or the day after. It's more about throughout the week what you're drinking. A big thing that I always tell my athletes too is to make sure that they're not just drinking water. They need to make sure that they drink a little bit of Gatorade, a little bit of water, and some Pedialyte, especially the ones that who are susceptible to heat illness. So there are some kids that that have told me that they've had issues with heat illness in the past, whether it be heat cramps or heat exhaustion. Luckily, we haven't had anybody have heat stroke, and that's a lot of times that's deadly. But anyway, so we do talk about drinking the right amount of fluids. Not necessarily a certain amount, but for the most part, is drinking throughout the day and mixing it in with different fluids.
Now, when you see the players in this type of heat, does cramping take a little bit of an effect?
Oh, it definitely does. It definitely limits the ability for them to continue to practice or play. So we definitely we try to take preventative measures for that. So again, like talk to them about eating and drinking prior to practice, day or two before that too. And we talk about even for game day situations. We talk about how it's not what you drink the day of the game; it's actually what you drink on Thursday, believe it or not, and how that carries over into Saturday to make sure that your body is well hydrated throughout that the end of the week. We do have loss of function, and they're not able to participate when they do get cramps. Some people are fortunate enough to come back and actually play when they do have cramps, but for the majority of time, because we don't have a medical doctor on our sidelines, we can't give them IV fluids to kind of get them back into play. Something at the NFL and at the Division I college level they'll have. So a lot of times it's more, giving them electrolytes. We have 2 or 3 different types of electrolytes. But again, once people start cramping, a lot of times they're pretty much done because it's really painful for one, and then for two, it actually they become very sore, so they're unable to really explode when they want to. And then if that happens, then they're more susceptible to secondary injury. So we try to do the best we can with try to get them back, but for the most part, they once they start cramping, a high percentage of them are done for the day.
When you talk about how they have to plan ahead of time, Thursday they have to start eating the right things. Do you have a meal plan for them going into games?
I really don't have a meal plan. Every once in a while, an athlete will come in and talk to me about what they should be eating, and we actually have a handout of a variety of foods that they should be eating, especially being an athlete, college level athlete, a growing athlete. Really, they're still a lot of these kids are still growing. We have a couple 17-year-olds, but for the most part, they're all 18, 19, 20 years old, and they're still growing. So they have to make sure they're nourishing their body the right way. A lot of times people try to go for supplements, and they try to go that route to kind of get their nutrition that way. But we stress a lot about eating fruits, vegetables, food to try to nourish their body, not just your protein shakes or what have you. So a lot of it is that just making. So again, not specific meal plans. We could sit down and do that, but for the most part, since we have a large athlete population, we have a sheet of different types of food that they could go purchase and buy and eat. That way, it's more of a general idea. If someone, we do have resources that we can utilize. So if let's say we have an athlete that really does not feel right about what they're eating, we have doctors and nutritionists that we could refer them to.
How do you stretch them out and warm them up so that way they aren't just pulling something when they go into the game?
I'm pretty fortunate. I have a pretty big student staff, and we throughout the semester we learn and teach them about stretching routines and all that stuff. So we do have a good group, a good staff out here to kind of help us with the stretching. But for the most part, it's more of what the athlete does for themselves. We tell them you have to take care of your own body. Don't rely on us to do that for you. So we do counsel them or talk to them about what they need to do. And if they do need extra help, again, I have about 8 to 10 people out here, student athletic training students that can help with the stretching and all that. But before practice, I come out here and there's actually I guess a watering system that this field has, that I water the field for a little bit just before practice. It actually helps kind of lift the heat from the turf itself, so it actually cools it off a little bit out here. It doesn't make a 15-20 degree change, but it does make a few degrees, maybe 5-8 degree change out here on the turf. Once I do that, that actually cools the field down a little bit, so at least we're able to provide that for the athletes.
Thank you, Juan, and good luck to you guys this Saturday.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Fullerton College once again going into the 94th playing of the Key to the County game against Santa Ana. Last year they beat Santa Ana by a final score of 20-14. Santa Ana was actually up at the half, but Fullerton College was able to escape with the win. Talked to some of the coaches, and they want to get off to a better jump to start off this 2016 season. Since we're on the subject of community college football, well, SportsNetUSA.net has a plethora of community college football games starting off this Saturday. Golden West against Glendale College with Rashawn Haylock on the call there. Then you have Sacramento City College football. That's Randy Ratier's territory up in Northern California. LA Valley College football, they're going to start off their 2016 season at home against Cerritos. And of course, the 2016 Fullerton College Hornets, their first game is the 94th playing of the Key to the County game on SportsNetUSA.net. On the call, the voices of Fullerton College football, Mark Pavlovich and Corey Nalen. Also, listen in to 90.1 FM KBPK, the Fullerton College Sports Weekly Report. Vincent Garcia right there. He's on it for all of Fullerton College athletics, whether it be cross country, water polo, men's and women's, also football and soccer. He's right there giving you the report for Fullerton College Athletics. This has been the Coaches Show, and I'm Ryan Osborn on SportsNetUSA.net.